The Borough Life Podcast
with James
and Rosie.
Hello and welcome back to the Borough Life Podcast. Rosie, we're up to episode 5. Now, we've broken from our format a little bit in this one because we've actually got a bonus special guest. But I suppose in a way, it's a bit of an apology to everybody because I did say on the last one that our episode 5 will be coming out in late May and we are into early June. So apologies to everyone for that. But yeah, so we've got 3 amazing set of guests today. Rosie, who have we got on?
So we've got Paul and Alex from our TechMates service. We've got Kerrell, who is our climate change manager, and Andy, who's from Be Well and has taken on a very special challenge in aid of the brick. Yeah,
so 3 sets of really special guests there, and we really hope that you enjoy the little chat with Andy, who's going to be our last guest on the episode, and we hope that you back him with his sponsors, because what he's doing is amazing. So we'll be back in a little bit after you hear those interviews. Rosie, should we just get on with it?
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Alex Yoxall. I'm a Digital Inclusion and Engagement Officer for the Web and Digital Inclusion team.
My name's Paul Banks. I'm Assistant Business Partner in the Web and Digital Inclusion team.
So thanks very much for coming in. We are really excited about chatting to you about TechMates. It's such an amazing initiative that the council runs. Rosie, so you're a bit of an expert actually because you've been to one of the sessions, haven't you? So
yeah, I've been to a couple now.
Have you been to a couple?
Yeah, big fan.
So please tell us. Well, yeah, start from the start. Just tell us about TechMates because it's such a great thing.
Well, it's had an interesting birth, TechMates. It was born in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Which I'm struggling to remember when that was now. I think I've been dislocated from town over the last few years. So it was really, I think what happened at that time is that it became apparent, I think, across the country, there was a lot of people who didn't have those fundamental digital needs to support themselves through the pandemic. Didn't have those family networks. So we devised TechMates. That's how the name came about. And it was really there to offer remote support to people who are struggling. So to do the very things that we take for granted, like shopping online, accessing web online services. And we put together a project really where we were working with our digital communities partners as well to support them, to offer remote digital support, and we're offering training as well to support them to become TechMates. And yeah, it's grown from there. I think Alex has been with us for it's getting on for over 6 months now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm wondering how long I can keep saying I'm new before it gets a bit exhausted. So yeah, started in January.
It's really exploded now. Really, I think it's a fantastic project, fantastic idea, and it is a community-based project. I mean, the council are really there to facilitate this, but it's really led by our volunteers in the community. It's Alex, take over. All the wonderful things that are going on at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think I'll just echo what Paul said. I think it's a great initiative, volunteer-led, community-led. Our goal ultimately is to get digital inclusion and digital support sustainable. So we have to question ourselves of how we do that, and we feel it's to work with our partners, work with the communities that are at the heart of digital exclusion. So in terms of what we do as a team, we run inclusion services, so that's our TechMate programme obviously that we're mentioning now. Volunteer-led programme where we look to link digitally confident volunteers with digitally excluded residents. That's done where we link them up. It's like a buddying scheme where they'll kind of have a confident, friendly individual as a volunteer supporting them with their confidence, but also addressing their digital needs as well. Like Paul mentioned, things like how to do online shopping, how to access, GP services, online banking, you name it, it's all going online. So that's what the TechMates addresses. It's through a referral service, so our partners in the community, our DCP, which is our digital community partners, they refer in, but also professional colleagues in the council will refer into that service as well. As an offshoot to that, we have our TechMate tea parties, which I suppose is the same ethos in terms of being a digital champion, a nice encouraging environment for residents to visit. But that's not requiring referrals, that's not requiring booking. It's turn up, have some tea, have some coffee, have a biscuit, meet like-minded people who might be struggling with the digital world and get hands-on support from our volunteers as well. So we currently have 7 across the borough, 4 in libraries, 2 in community Methodist churches and 1 in a pub. It is coffee morning, not last orders, it's all above board, but they're really great community venues and they're dotted around the community. So they're the 2 kind of avenues of TechMates.
Is it the tea parties that you visited?
So I can vouch for the biscuits.
Yeah, we always try and put a bit of a spread on.
And I know, like, the birth of the scheme it did come out of the pandemic, didn't it? And it was, I suppose, initially it was around people were reliant on tech, weren't they, to speak to relatives, and we probably all went through those phases where it was like the weekly quiz nights with our family and things like that. So it was linking up with people who were isolated and couldn't do that. I was just going to ask, is that there's so many other benefits, isn't there, apart from, obviously, if someone comes in to use the service, they're learning the skills and getting a bit more tech savvy, but there's a social isolation aspect to it as well, and then they're becoming part of a community, aren't they, I guess, by coming along to the sessions or being referred in. So
100%. I mean, that's one of the great benefits of certainly the tea parties, but also the one-to-one TechMates as well. But I always champion the fact that as much as it being a digital support service, it's a social support service. Because I have a background working in the volunteer sector. I work with charities and work with volunteers. I think the impact that having peer-led sessions has on an individual is it's gargantuan. You can't put a price on it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like Paul mentioned earlier, we're trying to make digital support sustainable through our partners. The goal is to get them all volunteer-led, because they're led by peers, by members of the community. And at the moment, we have, of those 7, 4 volunteer-led, and we're heading quite quickly to them all being volunteer-led. And the goal is, once we do that, we can step back, give them that creative control of those sessions. That community can build itself, and we can help them with anything they need, and we're a support network for them. But then we can move on and look to expand and to get into new areas where digital exclusion might be rife.
I mean, the model of the tea party is fantastic. That informal setting, I think it really does support people who've had a really bad experience of formal education. I think maybe 5-10 years ago, the model may be more focused on an IT course, and that was a big no-no for some people. It's like, I'm back in this situation now where I'm feeling part of the classroom. But the tea parties, it just breaks those barriers down, and the individuals absolutely love them. And that mutual support you get between people as well is wonderful to see. It's social and digital sort of coming together, isn't it? Really, it's a wonderful thing to see.
I think, without getting too counsel-y on everybody, I think it's a flagship scheme for us as well, because, like you say, maybe 5 or 10 years, 20 years gone by, it would have been somebody needs to learn IT skills, so do an IT course. Whereas it's focusing on the individual, isn't it, and getting that support around them, and not just focusing on that one element. And I think that's why. Yeah, it's so successful, and I'm guessing as well. So we're I've lost track of time as well with the pandemic now. I can't think when it was, but so we're a few years in, really, aren't we? But the potential for it to grow, and like you say, with it being volunteer-led, it's huge, isn't it?
I mean, one of the tricks we say it's a trick. It's like finding that hook as well. I think for our learners is that something like a hobby. If you're interested in, I don't know, glam rock in the 70s or something like that, you've got a plethora of sort of YouTube sites that you can access, and when you actually show somebody who's got that hobby but not got the digital skills, that's the driver to get them to pick up those digital skills, and that's great to see. So I mean, we're all sort of, I suppose, YouTube addicts if we've got the digital skills, but that resource is not obvious to people. What the capabilities of something like YouTube is in terms of learning, enjoyment and fun. It's and that drives those core digital skills then to be embedded.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It is just so focused and person-centred. But equally the numbers speak for themselves, because I think I asked you a few months ago, like, how many people have been helped by TechMates, and it was over 500. And I think it's going to just continue to grow, isn't it? And that's clear with your passion as well.
So before we go on to this is one of the topics that I think that we could talk about all day, and it's been featured in, if we link it back to the magazine as well, I know that it's been featured in Borough Life before, it will be in the future, and again, I think you guys will have to have you come back on when you reach other milestones with the project. Before I've got one more question before I might as well ask that now. I was just going to say, did you let slip? Are you a 70s glam rock fan? Was that, were you talking about yourself there? Or?
Yeah, it's Roxy music more than
right.
Brian Eno.
So I was just going to ask, I don't know that it's so people can get referred into the service, but like you say, the tea parties, it's all, the info's on online, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on our web pages, digital Wigan web pages. The tea parties, 4 in libraries, so one's in Wigan Library, one's in Lee Library, one's in Atherton Library, and one's in Golden Library. Then we also have Methodist churches, so we've got Shevington Methodist Church, and we've got Atherton Methodist Church, and we've got the Globe in Standish. But all the information's online. Any library that you go into, even the ones that don't have TechMate tea parties, have our marketing materials, so they've got posters, leaflets. Just ask them, ask a library colleague about TechMates, they'll have information for you.
Exactly, I was just going to say, I know it's a bit of a paradox there, isn't it, about advertising stuff like that online, but I suppose the message to our listeners is, if you've got a relative or a neighbour or a friend, someone in your community that you think could benefit from this, give them that heads up, isn't it? Give them the nudge to go down. 100%. And like you say, it's advertised across the borough as well, so hopefully people will go be in the public buildings and see it and pop along, even if it's just for the biscuits,
which we don't mind, that's fine.
Right, okay, so on to the quick fire questions. So do you want to, shall I kick off? I'll kick off this time, yeah. This is a bit of an easy one because you two have just walked in with 2 massive coffees. So tea or coffee?
Yeah, coffee all day.
Coffee.
Yeah, fuel.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Dogs for me, yeah.
Pop or rock?
Rock.
I would say rock, yeah.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Twitter for me.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Got a bit of a sweet tooth. Gonna go with sweet.
Night owl or early bird?
Having a 9-month-old means it's got to be early bird. Any time to sleep.
Night owl. Well, like Dan naturally calls me, aren't they?
Yeah.
I just realised
Yin and yang.
complete.
Well, let's see how the rest of it goes. Box set or film?
Film.
Film.
Horror or comedy?
Comedy.
Comedy.
Winter or summer?
Winter.
It's got to be winter. Hay fever is not good with me, so got to be winter.
Big party or dinner party?
Dinner party.
Yeah, dinner party.
Oh, you've come back round there.
There we go. We saved it in the
You
end.
saved it. Thanks very much.
Oh, thank you.
No, cheers guys. Thanks for having us.
Big thanks then to Alex and Paul. So I think you can tell that we love the TechMate scheme, don't we, Rosie? And you made some friends, didn't you, when you went down to some of those sessions?
I did. I had a wonderful time, and I just thought it was so powerful to see that sort of the impact it was having on their lives. They felt so empowered. It was really nice to see.
Absolutely. So if you do know somebody who wants to get involved, we'll put all the info on how you can find the tea parties with the information with this podcast, and you can find it on the Wigan Council website as well. So we'll be back in a second talking to Kerrell after the adverts.
Wigan Borough has so many independent businesses right on your doorstep, waiting for you to explore. These local gems offer the very best in food and drink, fashion, gifts and much more. Celebrate local, love local. Visit wigan.gov.uk/support local.
Looking to find your fitness? Your local Be Well Leisure Centre has everything you need to achieve your goals. Whether you're wanting to hit the gym, go for a swim, try a group exercise class, or even discover a new sport, our all-inclusive membership has you covered across 7 different locations. Discover your local leisure centre and join today at bewellwigan.org. Feel well, live well, be well.
Hi everyone, we're here with Kerrell, who works for the council, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, so my name is Kerrell Boardman. I'm the Climate Change Manager at Wigan Council and happy to be with you all today.
So Kerrell, I feel like this is going to be the first of a number of appearances on the Borough Life podcast, because I think you play such an important role here at Wigan Council, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of topics that we can have you back on to talk about. But first things first, could you maybe explain to our listeners about your role, why it is so important at a council, and how, a little bit about the work that you do with your team?
100%, yeah. So I guess the reason for my role and my team's role, because I head up the climate response team at the council, is because Wigan Council, just like so many other authorities across the UK, we declared a climate emergency in 2019, So this was off the back of a lot of work that environmental protesters did in London over the summer of 2019. They did a lot of lobbying, central government, and rightly so really, because we are at a bit of a tipping point in terms of our climate and environmental pollution and degradation. So what we did, we declared our climate emergency in 2019, and then alongside that we committed to achieving net zero carbon by 2030 or sooner, aligning with Greater Manchester. And what that essentially means is all the emissions that we're emitting out into the atmosphere is balanced by what we're taking in, or ideally we're getting that to a super low level. So, you know, as many vehicles on the road as possible are green, you know, we're living lives as sustainably as possible. That's really where we kind of want to get to, but that net zero essentially means that balance of emissions going in and out of the atmosphere type thing. I was the first officer kind of put in charge of this as strategic lead, and then we've got a small team built around us. So we've got a climate education officer. So she goes out and works with our schools and communities in terms of educating them on how they can live and work more sustainably, teaching kids about that. We've also got a climate engagement officer who works with our communities, and our Deal for Communities team does a similar role. And we've also got an air quality and climate officer who focuses really on that whole area of air quality and sustainable travel.
So one of the things that I always notice is obviously climate change is in the news, it's kind of everywhere, we see it quite a lot, but I feel personally that it can feel like quite an overwhelming issue, and it kind of feels like it's you against this massive topic. How can people in Wigan Borough make their own mark on being part of the solution, and why is it important to?
I think it's really important, and you make such a good point, Rosie, because sometimes when we think about climate change, it's in the news and on the radio, and like we just think of this like little polar bear and a melting ice cap, and it's a million miles away from Wigan. Why do we really care about that? Because it's not happening here. But if you stop and think, you know, what we're living through now compared to 10, 15 years ago, I mean, I don't think anybody can argue that we're all seeing so much more flooding happening now, and people are really having to come to terms with dealing with that on a regular basis. We're definitely seeing much more sustained and prolonged periods of heat. So our local NHS services are really seeing the impact of that, even at the local level. Kind of the heat wave that we all experienced across the UK in 2018 is going to become much more common over the next few years, and will likely be kind of an every other year type thing. So if we think about that in Wigan, how's that going to impact us? Well, it's going to see, you know, increased kind of pressure on our local health services. How are we going to cope when in our own houses, what are we all doing at the minute trying to insulate them to the hilt type thing? Well, maybe in 10 years, we might all need ACs, like if we were in Spain or something like that, you know, air conditioning units. So I think, you know, it's if you stop and take a second just to think about the changes that we've seen over the past kind of 10, 15 years, just in the weather, you know, there's some stark differences there. It might not be the huge things that are going on around the rest of the world, like sea level rise or like, you know, desertification in Africa and stuff like that, but we're definitely seeing impacts in and across Wigan and Greater Manchester. Think about what's going on at the green space at the end of your street. How is it looking? Could it be more biodiverse? Is it full of rubbish and litter, which a lot of our areas are full of at the minute because there's so much litter and fly tipping going around? So I think if you stop and have a look around your environment, you can slowly start to see those changes. And if you think a little bit differently or act a little bit differently, we can all make things happen for the better, really.
One thing I was going to mention, Kerrell, I'm glad you mentioned the being a solution to the littering issues, because I just push our listeners to go and have a look at our Keep It Clean campaign that's recently launched. I know, Rosie, you've been part of that, so I'm just getting in there and taking some of the credit. You mentioned about the work that your team does, and a lot of it is around engagement and like kind of education and talking with young people as well, because we know, don't we, that the young people in Wigan Borough and across the nation, across the world, climate change is one of the big topics for them, isn't it? But maybe talk to us about the Youth Climate Summit as well, that was late last year?
Yeah, it was in September last year. So yeah, basically we work really closely with Wigan and Lee Youth Cabinet, and it's always come in kind of top or second to top in their manifestos each year that they're really worried, and there's a lot of anxiety in young people about climate change, you know. With a lot of teenagers and younger people that we deal with, they're seeing these impacts. They're worried about things like animals going extinct or I didn't have to worry about that when I was younger. It's only as I've come into adulthood that I've seen like kind of the realism of that. And these are people who are, you know, years turning off 18 and they're already worrying about these very adult type problems, and it's for us to kind of solve prior to them having to get here and deal with even more a bigger issue really. So what we did was we worked really closely with our youth cabinet last year, and they basically wanted to put on a youth-led event. So we co-created with our youth cabinet the borough's first Wigan Youth Climate Summit, which we held on the 28th September at the Edge in Wigan Town Centre, and basically that was a day created for young people, by young people, completely led by young people. I think I made a threat to all council volunteers on the day that I didn't want to hear one adult speak, and it was an absolutely fantastic day. So we had a really jam-packed day full of, we had loads of workshops going on, we had a green careers fair with a number of local businesses, touting their wares and showcasing the different types of green careers that are on offer across the borough and across Greater Manchester. We had an eco marketplace with a load of community groups and charities kind of showcasing the work that they're doing in and across the borough. I know the aquarium went down really well with our young people just because there was so much engagement to be had with the marine life. I think what happened at the end of the day, basically, it was a resounding success. We had so much feedback that they wanted it to be an annual event, so it'll be coming back bigger and better for September 2023.
So regular listeners to the podcast won't be surprised to hear how proactive our members of the Youth Cabinet are and how amazing they are. And anyone who's not listened to the episode where we talk about their work on International Women's Day, I'd encourage them to go back and have a listen to that one. If they want to know more about what you and your team are doing, you write the regular column, don't you, in the Wigan Observer?
We do, yeah.
I would encourage people to go and check that out. It's a really good way of finding out about Kerrell's and the team's work and all the different initiatives that are going on. At the time of recording, we've just had World Environment Day, we've got Clean Air Day coming up. So yes, so there's tons of info there for you to go and read. Right, quick fire round. Rosie, do you want to start us off?
Yep.
Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Pop or rock?
Pop.
Facebook or Twitter?
Neither. I don't like social media. Sorry, guys.
Sweet or salty?
Definitely sweet.
Night owl or early bird?
Early bird, yeah.
Box set or film?
With the amount of times I've watched The Office US, it's got to be box set.
Horror or comedy?
Comedy.
Winter or summer?
I'd say summer with the nice bright early mornings, yeah.
And finally, big party or dinner party?
Dinner party. It's got to be come down with me.
I agree.
Thanks, Kerrell.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Rosie, I think it's not a stretch to say that we'll have Kerrell back on, I think, in the future.
I think we definitely will.
So we're nearly at the end of episode 5. Rosie, as ever, if people want to have a look at our Borough Life content, where can they find it?
So yes, everyone can head to our website to view past editions of Borough Life. Just put wigan.gov.uk/Borough Life in the search box. And you can also find Borough Life Plus on there, which has lots of bonus content for you to enjoy.
And we're just putting together some fresh new content, aren't we, for Borough Life Plus at the moment. So we're hoping that will be available late June. And also, I know I'm setting myself up for a fall again, but we're hoping to have another episode out before the end of the month. If that doesn't happen again, we'll just have to do another bonus clip like we are with this episode. That's it then for me and Rosie for episode 5. We're going to hand you over to our little chat with Andy as the bonus part of this episode. So we'll see you soon for episode 6.
See you soon.
So Rosie, we're here in Wigan Life Centre in the middle of Wigan Town Centre. It's a nice sunny day and we're here with Andy. Andy, please could you introduce yourself and just explain what your role is here at Wigan Council?
Hi, yeah, I'm Andy, I'm 46. I've been a fitness instructor for the last 14-15 months and recently I've moved over to Active Inclusive and I work for the Be Well team.
So Andy, you're doing something amazing in the next few weeks, which is we've invited you on to talk about that. But before we get going with that, could you maybe just tell our listeners like what the Active Inclusive team does? We've just having a little chat before we started recording. I think it's one of those services that maybe people in the community wouldn't know that's a role for the council. So could you please just talk us through what it is you do for the day job?
Yeah, I've got a fantastic privileged job here. I'm dealing with people, with acute needs, people with who struggle to get about back into, to the gym. So we've got Wheels for All, which is like adapted bicycles. Some people that come have like 2 carers with them. They've got a lot of obstacles to get over just to get there. It's a very, very vital part of the cog of the community really that we're playing here, and I feel it's a great privilege to be involved in it.
And it's just all about improving people's health and well-being.
Yeah, from mental and physical.
You're doing something amazing in the next few weeks. So you tell us what it is that you're doing.
Okay, so about a year ago I came up with this crazy idea. I suppose I'd always thought of this idea over my life. One day I felt increasingly positive to say I'm going to cycle 1,000 miles. Yeah, I just thought, I love cycling. I don't have a car. I've never drove a car. I've had motorcycles over the past, but every day I cycle wherever I go, and I probably do more miles than my wife does in her car on her bike. So you starting? It's next week. You're starting at Land's End. Yeah.
Up to John O'Groats.
I am. Yeah. No. Originally I was going on my own. So originally I was just going to go on the train. I've got a train ticket still booked, and I was going to go there. But I've got married a couple of weeks ago, so she's decided it's best come with me.
Oh, brilliant.
And, she's going to drive each day from place to place, and we're going to meet up. Hopefully she'll have the tent made and some sausages on the go or something just to keep things sticking over. But yeah.
And you're doing it for a great cause as well. So would you mind telling us a little bit about that? I think there's a lot of people
that should be at the front, really.
I think there's a lot of people across the borough who will be aware of this organisation.
Yeah,
so please do explain.
Yeah, the Brick. When I was speaking to my boss, about charities, he basically told me about this organisation. I had read about it, I had seen different things, and obviously they have a lot of passion for getting people back on bicycles and restoring old bikes. And obviously the big intent of all is to help the most vulnerable, and to get these people obviously a bed for the night is the first thing, and some food in their belly, and get them just human kindness can spark something in them. The Brick do fantastic work like that. They've got people in the bike mechanic shop, get training people up to fix bikes, and I've met some of these characters, and they're some wonderful people.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Just to help this cause would be an absolute privilege.
Yeah. No, the Brick are fantastic, aren't they? It's such an amazing organisation. We've had a lot of partnership work with them, haven't we, Rosie, in the past? And you visited their site, didn't you, last year? Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Going back to your day job and working for the Be Well team here at the council, you like a challenge. All the people who aren't maybe keyed into the Be Well services, or there's so many facilities, aren't there, across the borough for people that they might not know about. There's the leisure centres and pools and things like that all across the borough. What would you say to somebody who maybe is a bit reluctant to get involved, or is thinking about starting a new journey for their health and well-being? What would you say as a motivating factor?
First of all, I think, what do you enjoy? What is it you like doing? What makes you happy? Do you like go for a walk? Do you like riding a bike? Do you like swimming? And there's lots of different things that we offer. So we adapt our services for you. So it's not about what we think's best for you. It has to be like what you enjoy. And there's always hope. Always hope. And when you're at home and you're isolated, it's very hard to see hope, but there is hope, and you just have to reach out. And there's lots of people here that are waiting in anticipation just to get you going. And there's lots of good people and a fantastic team here waiting to help.
Brilliant. And so just before we take you on to your next, your immediate challenge here with Rosie's quickfire questions, if people wanted to donate to the cause, they can find you on Just Giving?
Yeah, Just Giving. Just put my name in, Andrew Hakesley. It's HakesleY. It's quite a rare name. 1,000 mile journey, and I'll just pop up in the search bar.
Brilliant, and we'll put the link with the podcast as well. So if you're listening to this, please just check the notes on whatever provider you've got, and we'll have the link there. Over to Rosie here for the quickfire questions.
So here we go. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Pop or rock?
Rock.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Box set or film? Neither, you're on your bike.
Both. Depends on how good the box set is.
Horror or comedy?
Horror.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
And big party or dinner party?
Both.
They were quick fire. I think they're the most quick fire that we've ever had. Brilliant, Andy. Good luck with the cycle, and we'll keep up with your progress.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
you'll have to let us know how you get on.
Oh, thank you.